the great gifts of having this chair is, even in the quagmire of political nonsense and horror, which we'll be getting back to in due course, we get a chance to talk about something really important and that I and everybody out there, you listeners, wherever you are, should care deeply about. But I have to say, it's often difficult to get somebody, you'd be surprised on this topic, who can really explain why it's so critically important. The issue is this: barristers are threatening at the moment to sue the government as their continued industrial action, and I'm going to be clear, it is not a strike, and we'll discuss in due course why it's not a strike, but the industrial action continues to wreak havoc in Crown Courts. I'm going to be absolutely clear, I can take a strong view, correctly in my view. The Criminal Bar Association has issued a letter to the Ministry of Justice challenging its refusal to backdate an increase in defence fees under legal aid. We're going to discuss what that means in due course as well. A dispute over the scheme, which sees the government pay for lawyers to represent defendants who can't afford to cover costs themselves, just to be clear, that's most people, prompted an ongoing 4-week stoppage of some description. But at least 700 court cases were disrupted by the first 2 days of action last week, and 3 days of action started on Monday. Here to explain is criminal barrister Joanna Hardy-Susskind. I'm going to also suggest that you follow her on Twitter. Joanna, I wanted to wait for you to come to the studio to explain it, because believe it or not, I get barristers in this chair trying to explain to the public why this matters. And honestly, they open their gobs and they're absolutely rubbish at it. I've spoken to you before. I follow your public advocacy. You've committed to a life to doing this job. But it's really hard to make a case, because what people say to me is, well, look, these are criminals. We don't care. Why does this matter? What's going on?
So, Rob, firstly, thanks for waiting for me. I know that we've had a diary clash. It's lovely to be here, and thanks for that introduction. Yeah, this is important, and this is important to everybody. People think that they will never find themselves in a Crown Court. So the way we all hear about NHS backlogs and NHS cuts, and we're worried about that because we think that could be me, that could be my mum, that could be my family. And so I want the NHS to be strong when I need it as a safety net. Our Crown Courts and our Criminal Defence Legal Aid Service is that. That's the equivalent for if you get in trouble with the police, or if, heaven forbid, you're the victim of a crime. Now, people don't think it will happen to them. People think, well, I lock my doors at night, I shut my windows, I won't get burgled. Or worse, they think, well, I go out in my car, I go to work, my kids are decent citizens, we'll never end up sitting across a table from someone like me. And you can take it from me, Rob, the people I meet day in, day out, yes, I meet people who are marginalised, and yes, I meet people with previous convictions, but the people I meet who live with me, who stay with me, are the people who didn't see it coming. And they're people who get up and go to work and money goes missing and they might get accused of a crime. They're people who go out in their car and there might be an accident and they might be accused of a crime. They're people whose kids go out to nightclubs and there's a fight and all of a sudden little Billy is in the dock. And they're people who can't afford to pay for lawyers to come and rack up bills. And it's legal aid. We're there to help them, and we'd help anybody in that situation. And so the work is painted often in the press as fat cat lawyers helping murderers make up defences, and we get absolutely castigated.
Right, can I ask you about that? Because, of course, that's what I get as well. People say, oh, it's all fat cats, they make a fortune. You know, no one's doing a fun run for lawyers. You know, I use your Twitter feed, I'm going to refer to it again, just to give us some statistics about what legal aid lawyers are on. I mean, in one of your descriptions, you described a day in your life. And, you know, not only are you no slouch, but you're considered to be a star of the bar, to say the very least.
I don't know about that.
Well, it's, you know, a provable fact, given the nature of the high-profile cases that you work on. You went somewhere, and I worked it out that, as far as I could gather, once you'd factored all costs in, you ended up paying the defendant to represent him.
Well, yeah, I mean, the legal aid orders are fixed rates. Right. So we get on Twitter a lot, people saying, well, I hired a lawyer to sort out my fence dispute and it cost me £800 an hour. We don't get to do that. Legal aid rates are fixed by the government, and they're fixed at an economically low position. Our fixed rates, for example, for what we call a plea hearing. It's quite an important hearing. Right. I need to travel anywhere in the country. It might be Lincoln Crown Court, it might be Canterbury Crown Court. I probably need to get up about 5 a.m. to do that. Sit with the client, sit with their family, advise them properly on evidence. Sometimes I advise people to plead guilty, which helps society, and if they have a defence, the other way. Conduct the hearing, which can be hard work, write it all up afterwards, advise my solicitors how it moves forward. The fixed fee for all of that is £126.
For the whole day?
Yeah, for everything.
want people to pause and reflect on that. That includes travel, by the way, preparation, etc., all of that.
Well, what it also doesn't show, Rob, is this. We're self-employed, and so I don't have sick pay, I don't have holiday pay. If I chose to have children, I don't have maternity pay, I don't have a pension clocking up. If I break my leg, I lose my money. And so we also have overheads. I need to employ, with my fellow barristers, people to assist us and run our practice, our clerks in chambers. And so that is before those deductions. And so whilst there are better paying cases, of course, if I do a trial, the truth is that our most junior, and they're the people we're really focusing on in this action, the median income now for a junior barrister, and just pause there before I do the big reveal. I hate to do a big barrister build-up, Rob. But that person will have studied for 5 years, so akin to a doctor. They will be in considerable debt. And by that, to give everyone an idea, the course to be a barrister costs between £15,000 and £18,000 for a 9-month course. And they will qualify, they will beat 300 candidates for one place, and they'll get on their feet, and in their first year the median income is £12,200.
I just want to pause there for a second. £12,200. What does that mean for recruitment and for people like you, the best defending people, to ensure people have access to justice? What does that mean for us?
Well, what it's meant, Rob, it's twofold. Firstly, attrition. People are leaving. And we see people leaving from certain groups. We see people without independent wealth. And pausing there, why should anyone need independent wealth to come and do my job? And the public should want people like me to come and do this job. I'm from state school background, grew up in a completely normal background, funded my work through scholarships, through loans, and I'm here, and I hope that when I'm in court the jury think, yeah, actually she's not what we expected. We expected some posh old man,
Me.
walking up. No, not you, Rob. And so for diversity in this profession, we have to look upwards, and we look to the judiciary, to the judges. And the criticism we often get, and it's less apt now, is that the judiciary are not very diverse. People think that they are pale, male and stale. Now, they're doing a lot of work with that, and I must say, and it's right to say, that we are seeing a much more diverse
and independent
bench.
Appointments are making a difference.
Precisely. But where are those people going to come from? If we're hemorrhaging kids that can't afford to do this job, we're going to end up with the posh kids.
Well, just look at my own chambers, right? I mean, two-head court, we were chiefly legal aid, lots of Treasury Counsel going to prosecute a case on behalf of victims, very motivated to do that sort of work. We hardly do any criminal legal aid anymore, and our young people jump through all the hoops that you've just described, often in £50,000 worth of debt. They simply can't afford to do this. Now, the question is, this, as I said, referred to before, cannot be called a strike for legal reasons. Can you explain to us why, and also, in our limited time, what effect this is going to have? What's the mission for you, for us, the public, to get on board with you, as we all should be?
Well, people are sensitive about the word strike. I mean, we're self-employed and we're not unionised. So we are taking days of action, which we have declared, which means we are walking out of court. Now, that doesn't fill us with any joy. Frankly, I've had heartbreaking conversations with barristers who are leaving cases where they don't want to.
I had a friend just really recently in the middle of a murder trial, I can't reveal which one,
of course,
where he had to say to the defendant, I won't be here. And the defendant said, I can completely understand. I spoke to my friend. This is true. This is a hardy person. You can imagine the seniority given the nature of the case. And he was in tears about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been very difficult because we really care about this work. You couldn't afford to do this job if you didn't care about it and do it for those reasons and those motivations. But we've got no choice. And to bring a profession as conservative with a small c as this one to the brink has taken some real stubbornness on the part of the Ministry of Justice.
That's for sure. They've offered 15%. I spoke to Alex Chalk when he was in role, and he said, it's 15%, but it needs to be backdated. I could listen to you all day, and I do think, and I recommend everybody to continue to follow you, Joanna Hardy-Susskind. Just what is your message in a nutshell to all of us? Why is this so important?
This could be you tomorrow, sitting in a dock, wrongly accused of a crime or the victim of a crime. And at the moment, if that happened to you today, the chances of you resolving that before 2024 are slim. And that isn't good enough. That's not good enough. It's not tough on crime. This government speak nonsense about that. It's simply not tough on crime. It's the opposite. It has never been a better time to be a criminal in this country. It's never been a worse time to be a victim. And we have to change it. And we need a properly funded, diverse bar to get the backlog down. 60,000 cases waiting, Rob.
That's criminal barrister Joanna Hardy-Susskind. This is...